Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, as it emerges that the United Kingdom has one of the highest death rates in the world, I've been speaking to Professor Peter Piot, the director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. His career has been devoted to understanding and combating viruses, including Ebola and AIDS. He contracted COVID-19 in March and was hospitalised and is now recovering at home. I began by asking him why it is that the death rates here in Britain are quite so bad.
The main reason is that we started quite late with all kinds of measures, later than many countries. If you compare, for example, to Germany, we're talking now about quarantine, for example, from travels returning, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. This is something you do when there are no cases or very few. When you deal with epidemic, there's no time to lose. It's really acting early that makes the biggest impact. Test,
track, and trace. I mean, will that make a very big difference to our crisis?
It's something, in an ideal world, we should have started with that. But I think it's really the right way to go. Also because as societies, we cannot continue with kind of paralyzing the whole of society and the economy. It'll depend also on a few things. The availability of testing. Our track record is not so great, but and ideally for me, testing should be available not just by going online, but also in the pharmacy around the corner, in the community. It should also be available to people who have no symptoms. And also, frankly, without blaming individuals, but this can only work if there's good compliance.
Well, now, I mean, coming on the heels of the Dominic Cummings problem, I mean, that's not the greatest overture to a sense of urging the population to be compliant.
Indeed. I mean, the rules have to be the same for everybody. And if there is a breach of trust, that system, which I think is really the right way to go, test and trace, will collapse and will not work. So let's make sure that from the top to the society as a whole, we all respect these rules.
I was wondering actually what you, as somebody who works as a microbiologist and has worked with many different viruses before, what on earth is it like for you to have had the disease and to have had it as badly as you've had it?
Yeah, after spending, well, most of my adult life fighting viruses, making their life miserable, a virus finally got me and made my life miserable. My disease, in fact, started about over 2 months ago, and I'm still struggling with the consequences of a chronic lung problem due to a hyperimmune response, not just the virus. It makes a huge difference, whether to be an academic expert or even on the front lines and treating people with Ebola and HIV and so on that I've done, than having had the virus inside. And in my native tongue is Dutch, and we have a term for that, and that says, I'm now an experienced expert. I've gone through it. And that makes me double motivated to fight it, but also realizing that there are chronic conditions. It's not just you have a small flu or something like that, and then, or you die 1%, and that's it, and that's for older people. But it's also about people, and not just about flattening the curve and so on. I think the whole communication around this epidemic has been too much about figures and, and concepts, and not about people. This is about people.
I'm just wondered how the international community of microbiologists and virologists and the rest view us.
Yeah, we're viewed as a bit of a confused place, and having acted, quite late. Although I think that it's early days, but this, radical approach of test and trace, and hopefully, I know everything will be put in place to make it a success. I think that will regain our, our reputation, our standing, plus also the scientific work on vaccine development, the clinical trials, and so on. I mean, science and medical research has always been one of our strengths. The test and trace, together with, far stronger involvement at the community level, I think will, for me, make sure that, ensure that we will go in a society where the risk of COVID-19 will not disappear. let's not fool ourselves. Even with a vaccine, it may not disappear, but it will be at levels that we can live with as in general.
Professor Peter Piot, thank you very, very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.